Welcome to my YouTube channel Dreamify Animation. Today I'm going to tell you a story that begins with the arrival of a fleet in the skies above Earth. A fleet so massive that it blotted out stars and swallowed the moonlight like an endless tide of steel and shadow. The invaders came not for curiosity, not for diplomacy, but for conquest. They were the Zytherians, a war-born species who had scoured worlds, enslaved civilizations, and torn empires apart with the precision of blades. To them, Earth was merely the next in a long sequence of subjugated planets. Their first scans of Earth baffled them. They expected networks of towering cities of gleaming crystal, starships piercing the stratosphere, and planetary defenses bristling with plasma cannons. Instead, they found scattered nations with crude weapons compared to the standards of the galaxy. Primitive machines powered by combustion, armies still relying on projectiles instead of plasma. To the Zytherians, this was not a war. This was extermination before breakfast. And yet, as the invasion began, they learned the first terrifying truth. Humans adapt. The aliens descended with fire, striking capitals, leveling communication networks, and reducing skyscrapers to molten glass. Their plasma strikes carve scars into the earth, burning forests and vaporizing rivers. They expected humanity to scatter and surrender, broken by superior power. But what they encountered was resistance, not centralized, not uniform, but something far more dangerous. Chaos sharpened into purpose like the T-first. Small groups of humans fought back in ways the invaders didn't understand. Entire towns vanished into forests, leaving behind roads littered with traps, improvised explosives, hidden pitfalls, ambushes in the night. Alien patrols marched into abandoned villages only to be swallowed by collapsing buildings. Soldiers who had been trained for galactic campaigns against orderly armies suddenly faced an enemy that did not play by the rules. In South America, jungle tribes joined with military units, weaving traps with vines and collapsing bridges into ravines. In Africa, desert fighters lured armored carriers into sandstorms where visibility dropped to nothing, and then struck with weapons scavenged from fallen enemies. In Europe, resistance cells emerged from the ruins of cities, striking supply convoys and then disappearing through underground tunnels centuries old. In Asia, entire mountains became fortresses where civilians and soldiers alike waged relentless guerrilla warfare. The Zytherians discovered a second truth. Humans don't fight alone. Families, neighbors, strangers, bound together not by uniform but by desperation, became soldiers. Children carried messages across battle lines. Farmers turned their land into minefields. Hackers crippled alien communications with primitive but devastating electronic warfare. Every human had a role. Every home a potential stronghold. One alien commander, Kareth, wrote in his logs. They fight like the storm. We strike and they scatter, but the moment we turn, they converge again from every direction. They do not obey order. They are order within disorder. When the invaders unleashed their terrifying war beasts, creatures bred to slaughter infantry, the humans responded with tricks that defied comprehension. In forests, entire packs of war beasts vanished into pits camouflaged with leaves. In cities, they were lured into narrow streets where Molotov fire turned them into burning shadows. What frightened the aliens most was not the destruction of their beasts, but the laughter of humans who set traps with joy, who fought not with despair, but with grim, unbreakable humor. The third truth came slowly, but when the Zytherians realized it, dread seeped into their very core. Humans weaponize everything. When plasma strikes melted bridges, humans use the ruins as barricades. When ships fell from the sky, humans scavenged the alien metal to forge bullets and knives. When civilians are captured, the survivors struck back harder, fiercer, as though grief itself could be sharpened into a blade that on the outskirts of a ruined American city. An alien commander once found his soldiers slaughtered not by human guns, but by traps built from kitchen knives, glass shards, and gasoline tanks wired to car batteries. His report was simple. Every piece of this world fights against us. Months passed. The war, which the invaders had expected to end in days, dragged into a nightmare of attrition. Their supply lines were constantly raided, their machines clogged with sand, mud, and debris deliberately funneled into their engines. Their patrols went missing, ambushed by farmers, miners, fishermen turned killers of war. Humanity was bleeding, yes, millions dead, cities ruined, but with every blow, they grew sharper, meaner, harder, and then came the moment that shifted everything. In the ruins of Beijing, an alien warlord declared the city pacified. His troops secured the area, their flag rising above the broken skyline. But as the flag rose, explosions erupted across the city simultaneously. Underground tunnels filled with humans poured out, striking with weapons and fire, and the alien warlord watched in disbelief as his entire force was devoured by the very city he thought he had conquered. The humans had not lost Beijing. They had lured the aliens into a trap the size of a metropolis. After that, the Zytherians began to fear shadows, empty streets, the silence of forests. Their advanced scanners told them nothing, for humans could mask heat signatures with mud, hide movements beneath rivers, vanish into caves. For every alien weapon, humans found a counter, not equal in strength, but devastating in creativity. The fourth truth was whispered among the alien ranks, though their commanders forbade it. Humans don't stop. Soldiers wounded beyond survival dragged themselves to set one last explosive. Parents hurled themselves at armored carriers to protect their children. Entire villages chose to fight to the death rather than submit. The Zytherians, who had conquered worlds with weapons alone, realized they were facing something they had never encountered. A species that turned willpower into a weapon sharper than any blade. One night, as alien ships hovered over the plains of Africa, they watched fires burning below, not of destruction, but of humans gathering, singing war songs that shook the night air. Those songs echoed across continents, transmitted by survivors who refused to die quietly. The invaders saw not a broken species, but a defiant one, united not by governments, but by survival itself. Kareth, the commander who once mocked humanity, recorded his final log. We came seeking slaves. We found wolves. Every hill hides teeth. Every forest claws. Every city a trap. They do not need weapons. They are the weapon. By the second year, the Zytherian fleet began to retreat. Not because they could not kill humans. They had slaughtered millions, but because they realized they could never break them. For every city they destroyed, resistance spread elsewhere. For every life they took, a dozen more rose with vengeance in their eyes. Conquest required obedience, and obedience could not be carved from a species whose very blood boiled with rebellion. When the last alien ships fled Earth's orbit, they left behind not victory, but a warning etched into their histories. Never invade Earth. Do not wake the sleeping chaos. Do not fight the species that turns pain into power. And so the world lay scarred, cities shattered, landscapes burned. But within those scars, humanity stood victorious, not because they had stronger weapons, but because they themselves were the storm, the fire, the unbreakable weapon forged from chaos. They buried their dead, rebuilt their homes, and looked to the stars not with fear, but with the knowledge that they had faced the greatest predators of the galaxy and survived. The invaders had come expecting easy prey. Instead, they had met the most terrifying force in the universe. Humanity's will to fight, to resist, to endure. And as long as even one human lived, Earth would never kneel.